This is Polyamory Weekly, tales from the front of responsible non-monogamy from a pansexual, kink-friendly point of view. A warning for our under 18 listeners. This is an adult-oriented podcast about really lascivious things, like communication and honesty in relationships. If you're under 18 and looking for upfront advice and answers to questions about sex, please visit scarletteen.com.
This is Polyamory Weekly, episode 576 for June 30th, 2019. Coming up on today's show, is poly a solution for emotionally unavailable partners? That's coming up on today's show. Hello everyone, I am your host Minx, flying solo today, doing the solo poly thing. Okay, not really, but doing the show solo today because lustyguy is still in Honduras. He's actually coming back tonight with a zillion scuba diving certifications under his belt. And I gotta say that Elle and I are going to be very, very happy to see him. It has been a month. And if you've listened for a while, you know that I don't really have any other partners right now. My joke is that my job is my other partner. And so it's been a little tough without him. I have been a little snappy with coworkers for the last couple of weeks. First 2 weeks I was fine, but the last 2 weeks I'm like, fuck this. Fuck me. Somebody fuck me. Okay, I really just want lustyguy to fuck me. So there you go. There's our host chat section. Minx wants to get fucked by lustyguy, which hopefully will happen later tonight or tomorrow morning because, yeah, I am definitely working from home at least tomorrow morning because I need me some of that. And we had a couple fun items come up as polyamory in the news over the last couple of weeks. The first one I posted about on the polyweekly Facebook page, which was that article from Vice about unicorn hunters and how hurtful they can be. Now, for those who are new, unicorn hunters is a derogatory term used to refer to a heterosexual couple that is seeking a new partner, and that person must be bisexual, interested only in that couple, and interested equally in both partners of the couple. And if you want to know how lustyguy and I feel about unicorn hunting, we have slightly different takes, but you can just go to polyweekly.com/blog and type unicorn into the search bar, and you'll find every time we've ever fucking mentioned it. But it was an interesting article because it was a different take. It wasn't just people saying slamming unicorn hunting, which is very easy to do in the poly sphere. It's more from the point of view of the unicorn, but it was in the voice of somebody who's been very hurt by having been unicorn hunted so many times. I've come a little closer to lustyguy's position in that I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with unicorn hunting, but I think that a lot of times the motives behind it are very selfish and can be very harmful to the people that might be interested in dating one or both people in a couple. These are the challenges I have with it. Before you're deciding that a third is the way to go, and I hate that because a third, you're already turning the person into an object. You're already treating the person like a thing instead of a full human being with needs and desires and agency. So I encourage you to ask yourself, if you are looking for this configuration, am I treating a person like a thing? Am I treating a person like a solution to my existing broken relationship? Am I treating a person like a sexual object to be used and thrown away? Am I giving equal focus and weight to everyone's sexual needs and desires? Or are we only focusing on the sexual needs and desires of the heterosexual male of the couple, and everybody else's needs and desires are secondary or tertiary or non-existent? Am I presenting my full and best self from the beginning? Don't have to be perfect, but if you feel the need to lie about your existing relationship, The article mentioned that very often the woman would come on to the subject, the quote-unquote unicorn, and then only later reveal that she had a husband and they were actually looking for a threesome, she wasn't looking for a relationship with that person. That's kind of mean. That's a bait and switch, not a way to put your best foot forward. And if there are aspects of your relationship that you're hiding at the beginning, why do you feel the need to hide them? Because that could say something about your motives and whether you're actually being kind of mean to the people you're dating. So I'll put a link in the show notes, polyweekly.com. You can read the article for yourself. The next article just came up a few days ago, and Alan from Poly in the News titled it, 4 Clear Glasses Frames That Say, I Haven't Tried Polyamory, but I've watched many Vice docs on the matter. This was an ad that he saw on the feminist site Reductress, and this confirms what we've been saying for a while now, which is polyamory is now a demographic, which, at least in the US, means that you can be targeted based on your potential needs and what they think that poly people want. It's really funny. This was an ad for Warby Parker, which is a company that makes glasses, and they're very reasonably priced, generally around $100 or $200, and but they're fashion statements. And the glasses are promoted as something that would make you look hip and cool, like somebody who could have tried polyamory, but you haven't yet, or maybe you've heard of it. And then he actually puts in a link to a couple other articles that are sort of similar, like Kamala Devi McClure's post, Most Poly Man in the World, which I hadn't read before, but is very funny, citing things like, he's so honest, when he masturbates with his right hand, he tells his left hand. Every time he sneezes, someone, somewhere, stops cheating. And then one that we've covered on the podcast before, article from 2017, experts warn that this poly relationship could expand to cover all of Seattle by 2021. The third poly in the news is one that I also posted to the Polyweekly Facebook page because, I don't know if you missed it, but Google Calendar went down briefly about a week ago, and the response on the internet was hysterical. I made some jokes about poly people everywhere are like, oh my God, who's my date with? Who has the kids tonight? Am I going out or is this a self-care night? I have no idea. Blah. Everybody get on WhatsApp. If Google Calendar is down, all meetings are canceled and we're allowed to wander around aimlessly, right? And Google Calendar is down, I have no fucking idea how to live my life now. And our topic today was based on an email from a listener who asked the question about would polyamory fix her, what she deemed to be emotionally unavailable boyfriend. We will start, as always, with a summary of her email. She met this guy 5 months ago. She was a newly single mom, not really looking for commitment, but they never really talked about what their relationship was. She knew she wanted it to be kind of casual and kind of open, but then he planned an all-day romantic date, which felt kind of relationshippy, followed by unread and unresponded text messages. So she wrote, this left me wondering what the hell I did wrong. What was he thinking? Did he just not like me anymore? Did I come on too strong? Every negative thought flowed through my mind until I told myself it has to be something going on with him. Otherwise, I would have driven myself crazy. I ended up bringing it up to him. Good for you. How he felt a little distant, and I could have thought I scared him away, and he brushed it off. The next day he sends me a message saying he analyzed why I may have thought that and was actually feeling scared of our closeness and realized he doesn't want another codependent relationship. He wants a lot of space and good quality time when we're together. This to me did sound good, and I actually had a weight lift off my shoulder. I no longer had to bend over backwards to make sure a man was still interested. I could go days without speaking to him, and he'll still be just as into me as he was before. This worked out for what felt like a good amount of time. Then she wrote that the topic of polyamory came up in a dinner they had with friends. She wrote, we finally had a chance to talk about what we would possibly want in a poly relationship, and he said he would be more interested in having some sort of triad relationship that's not much focused on the emotional connection with him. He says he wants a primary partner, me, and another person that's more interested in me, rather than all of us being really into each other. To me, this sounds like he's really emotionally unavailable, or rather just doesn't feel the need to connect with people on that level, and I have a feeling it has to do with something we've not talked about yet. I'm a pretty positively emotional person and love to be in love and feel love and wanting, but I'm also really good on my own. I really like this guy, and I think we can make this work and enhance each other's lives. Do you have any advice on how to start a relationship from there that can have the potential to work? First of all, good for you for realizing both you and he have boundaries and different needs that need to be considered. To me, when I read your letter, I hear things that you need and want and things you don't need and don't want, and the same from him. Like you both have some things that you're scared of, and you are establishing boundaries, but not necessarily communicating those clearly to the other person. So the quickie answer to your question is no. A relationship can't really be healthy if both you and your partner are more concerned about enforcing boundaries, especially if they're invisible and you don't communicate them, than letting your relationship or relationships develop organically. And I'd also point out this falls into the relationship broken, add more people model. This typically doesn't work out well. If you're not communicating your needs and he's not communicating his, and there are layers underneath the behaviors that neither you nor he fully understands right now, I mean, it's possible things could work out well, but I suspect there's going to be a lot of drama in the interim. If you really want to pursue a relationship with this guy, then I would encourage both of you to take advantage of the fact that you both seem to want something relatively free and clear now and not too commitment-y, and look into what exactly it is that you're afraid of. I mean, the good news is you're already part of the way there. You know some of the things that you're afraid of and that you don't want. You mentioned that you don't want your daughter to be negatively affected by your relationship. Apologies to listeners, that was in a part I didn't read. But you also have said that you really want to feel appreciated. And you mentioned that he wanted to have good quality time with you and have that kind of fun bit, but he also wanted lots of space. Now, the challenge is that it doesn't sound like either of you knows what that is for the other person. I would encourage you to take this as an opportunity to practice your communication skills. What exactly would be a negative effect on your daughter? What kind of things do you specifically not want to do that might have a negative effect on your daughter and your relationship with her? You mentioned several times wanting to feel appreciated. What does that look like? Maybe it's something as simple as saying, hey, even if you're having a bad time, if you could respond to my text message within 24 hours, or at least respond with something saying, received. I have people that do this professionally at work, and I actually really appreciate it. When they have received something from me, but there's no immediate action, they'll just shoot me an email saying, I received this document. I received this information. So now I don't have to worry about it. Maybe that would work. I don't know. These are things for you to specify, but it's really good to tell him, these are the things I need to feel appreciated so I can enjoy our relationship, but still give you your space. And then same thing on his end. What does it mean? What does quality time mean? Is that a long period of time? Is it romantic time? Is it sexy texting? And what does space look like? If he wants lots of space, what exactly does that mean? What does he want and not want to have? So that you know exactly how to give him the space that he needs and wants, and he knows how to make you feel more appreciated. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with your relationship. I have to admit, it sounds a little bit reboundy to me. It kind of sounds like you mentioned that you were recently a single parent, only a few months. So it could be that you're navigating your way. You may not know everything that you want to need yet. So you guys may have some landmines that you both step into. Practicing your communication where you say, hey, I didn't know this was a landmine, but this thing that just happened with my daughter, that's something I do or don't want to happen again. So let's talk about that. This is a great way to practice your communication skills. And then see if you can develop a type of relationship that both makes you happier and healthier versions of yourselves. One more thing. You mentioned that some of these conversations happened over text. Again, relationship conversations, we've said this before, these are best in person. I understand it sounds like he texted you when he realized something about himself, which on the one hand is good, didn't make you wait when he realized why he was acting a certain way. But really, it's best to have those conversations in person or over the phone, if at all possible. So if you could set up something in your relationship where you can have those conversations in person, you'll probably be a lot happier for it. Not too bad for Lustyguy not being here, huh? We're going to do our Happy Poly moment after our feedback section, and it will become very clear in just a moment. Today's feedback is from Laura from episode 558. And she had written in to ask us when to give up on polyamory. This was almost a year ago. And I'll provide a link in the show notes. The segment where Allison Moon and I address her question is 11 minutes in. Brief summary. She wrote in to ask when to give up on polyamory. She and her husband had been married for 10 years. They opened up their relationship because they both liked the idea. They read all the books, made all the mistakes, wrote their user manuals, and really just loved the idea of polyamory. But neither one of them had felt compersion. And now most of the time, one or both of them would go to bed sobbing or angry. And the husband was going through some pretty serious depressive episodes. So her question was, when do I give up on polyamory? And you can listen to our advice to her and her husband on episode 558. But Laura was kind enough to write back in, saying that it was really cathartic to write to you, never expected you to respond, and really appreciated the response. So she wrote, I think it's probably nice when a letter full of challenges and struggles to get an update from someone who's written in. And yes, it is nice. Thank you. She said, I ended my 2-year relationship with my boyfriend a few months ago for unrelated reasons. But that wasn't the end of my husband and me being polyamorous, because I'd done a lot of work that had resulted in some really important changes in perspective. One was that I needed to stop viewing everything through the lens of me. What does this mean for me? What does this mean about how he feels about me? It has nothing to do with me. It really doesn't. I can't be everything or everyone, and every person is a different universe full of different experiences. I started thinking instead, what does this mean for him? He's getting an opportunity for this date, this conversation, this relationship, and hopefully that will be a good thing. The other change in perspective was breaking down the ideas of jealousy and envy. Jealousy is wanting something someone has instead of their having it. And envy is wanting something someone else has in addition to that also. And looking at individual circumstances when feeling jealousy or envy, I would say to myself, is that really what I want? Am I really feeling this? And usually I didn't really want it because what my husband and I have, what I always get, is so good. I was able to let go and say, no, I want him to have this time, this date, etc. And if I wasn't jealous or envious, then what was I feeling negatively over? At that point, I could say, am I worried that he loves me less? No. Am I worried that our relationship will be less because he's having this date or this experience? No, not really. This change in perspective helped me to take a step back from my feelings and kind of logic them down, not shame or ignore them, but to take them, turn on the light for them, and show them there's no monster under the bed. Due to my long-term relationship with my boyfriend, my husband had to do a lot of this work, whatever his internal process was, before I did, and was further along even when I wrote you for the first time. But he's come even further since. Bravo to both of you for doing the work so that you could enjoy your relationship and that you could enjoy the type of relationship that worked best for you. And she left us with a, wait, where's my music? It's time for your Happy Poly moment of the week, brought to you by fubbly polyamorists everywhere. She gave us a lovely happy poly moment at the end. Earlier this spring, she writes, there was an annual weekend-long event that my husband and I usually attend together, though my husband is much more essential to it than I am. Due to additional upcoming weekends out of town and house guests during the week, he knew that I would be unable to see any of my partners for the next couple of weeks. He suggested that I stay home and take the time to see my partners for the good of those relationships instead of going with him. I love this wonderful man, and I had a great weekend catching up with my partners. So I hope this email finds you and maybe gives you a couple warm fuzzies. Thank you again for taking the time to respond last year. Well, you are welcome, because that is just one of the best emails I've ever received. Thank you so much. And just in case that's not enough, we have another happy poly moment. So anybody who's going through a tough time, I once had somebody mention, when I said I try to put only one happy poly moment per show and span them out a little. She was like, oh my God, don't do that. More happy. I'm having a hard time. Just more happy. Give us more happy. So here's a little more happy for you. I'm a 24-year-old kinkster from Germany and following your podcast for about 2 years since a poly friend of mine told me about it. I'm in my first poly relationship since December 2018, so you can pretty much say the two of you and this friend told me how to be poly. So I owe you a big thank you and wanted to share my happy poly moment with you. Oh, you're welcome, and thank you. I have to admit my metamour D has been really cute and helpful since the day our partner F and I started dating. But we're getting closer now, spending time together, just the two of us, not only to get to know each other anymore because we like each other. So one day last week, F wasn't home. I happened to end up at their house. D and F lived together and didn't have a toothbrush with me because I hadn't planned to stay. And D and I were talking. I told her I thought that F wouldn't be comfortable with my having stuff at their place because once I forgot my toothbrush and he had reacted in a way that seemed like he didn't like that. It wasn't a big deal for me. We spent a wonderful evening and an even better next day together when D introduced me to her friends, which was also a very happy poly moment. But yesterday, I got to their place, D was somewhere else, and F told me, well, we have a surprise for you. D and I got you a shelf in the bathroom so you can put your toothbrush there and some new panties. And I immediately recognized that this had been D's idea. I was so happy. This means so much to me. It's the small things that show relationships, right? Yes, it absolutely is the small things, like a metamour making physical space for you in their home. My insertion. Continued. Later, she came home and I thanked her and F, and I talked about this little misunderstanding when I forgot my toothbrush. I can't stop smiling every time I think about it, laying in my shelf at their home. I'm so glad. I didn't just get a wonderful, caring, understanding partner, but also the loveliest metamour I can imagine. Greetings from a very happy poly girl far away, and thanks again for your wonderful show. Well, you are most welcome, and thank you. If you can't hear it, I do have a big smile on my face from reading both of these. Oh, you folks know how to make a podcaster happy. And thanks to all our polyweekly playmates for your generous donations. We are a free resource. We've helped hundreds of thousands of people navigate their introduction to and continued success with polyamory. Your donations and your letters keep this podcast free and awesome for everyone both inside and outside the community. If you have questions, comments, or feedback, call 802-505-POLY or email polyweekly@gmail.com. If you want to book us for something, especially if it involves travel or anything involving Google Calendar, email lustyguy@polyweekly.com. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/polyweekly, Twitter @polyweekly, or @cunningminx. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's not all about the sex.